In the quiet town of Fayetteville, Arkansas, a chilling crime unfolded that would shatter the community and expose dark secrets within a seemingly perfect family. Johnny Ray Baxter, a 45-year-old real estate agent known for his friendly demeanor and strong work ethic, was the center of this tragedy. Johnny Ray, a well-respected figure at Ozark Realty, appeared to live a charmed life with his wife, 34-year-old Darlene Baxter, an accountant at Razorback Accounting, and his 18-year-old stepdaughter, Lily Adams, who was a freshman at the University of Arkansas studying psychology. As April 2015 progressed, Johnny Ray seemed immersed in a major property deal and was also planning a surprise anniversary trip for Darlene, including a cabin stay in the scenic Ozark Mountains. Despite the outward appearance of a happy family, tension brewed beneath the surface. Darlene had grown increasingly suspicious of Johnny's late-night work meetings, and Lily's behavior had noticeably changed, raising concerns among friends and neighbors about the dynamics within the Baxter household. On April 12, 2015, the tranquil facade of the Baxter home was shattered. Darlene, who was out of town visiting her sister, asked their neighbor, Michael Everly, a 52-year-old retired school teacher, to check on Johnny after she was unable to reach him. Michael, being a trusted friend, agreed to visit the Baxter residence. When Michael arrived, he found the front door of the house unlocked, a sign that something was amiss. Upon entering, he was met with a disturbing scene. The interior of the house was in disarray, furniture was overturned, and broken glass was scattered across the floor. The chaos was alarming, but nothing compared to what awaited Michael in the master bedroom. In the bedroom, Michael discovered Johnny Ray Baxter's lifeless body. The sight was horrifying. Johnny had been brutally bludgeoned to death with a hammer. The severity of the crime was immediately apparent, and the scene bore the marks of a violent struggle. Michael, shaken and distressed, promptly contacted the authorities, setting in motion a complex and emotionally charged investigation. Detectives Sarah Mitchell-Kinsey, 38, and James Carter, 42, were assigned to the case. Both seasoned investigators with experience in handling intricate cases, they arrived at the crime scene and began their work. The chaotic nature of the scene and the brutal method of murder indicated that the crime was deeply personal. The detectives focused on collecting key evidence, including the blood-stained hammer, which would become a crucial piece of the puzzle. The investigation initially centered on those closest to Johnny. The detectives interviewed Darlene, who was still out of town and understandably devastated by the news. Her alibi was that she had been with her sister in Little Rock, and this would need to be verified. The scene of the crime and her whereabouts on the night of the murder were both critical to understanding her involvement. The detectives also began to explore the relationships within the Baxter family. Johnny's stepdaughter, Lily Adams, became a focal point of the investigation. The close relationship between Lily and Johnny was known to be problematic, and their interactions were scrutinized for any signs of conflict or motive. Lily's recent change in behavior was noted, and her alibi for the night of the murder, claiming she was studying with a friend, was checked. Additionally, the investigation considered Johnny's ex-wife, Diddy Baxter. Her contentious history with Johnny and the reported arguments leading up to the murder added another layer of complexity to the case. Although Diddy had no solid alibi and was known to have been in town during the time of the murder, there was no direct evidence linking her to the crime scene. As the days passed, the detectives meticulously reviewed the evidence and the statements of all involved. The brutality of Johnny Ray's murder and the apparent personal nature of the crime required a thorough examination of potential motives and opportunities. The investigation sought to uncover the truth behind the murder and identify the individual responsible for the tragic death of a well-liked and respected member of the community. In the midst of these developments, the investigation remained focused on verifying alibis, gathering forensic evidence, and understanding the intricate dynamics within the Baxter family. The stage was set for a deeper exploration of the suspect's motives and the eventual unraveling of the shocking truth behind Johnny Ray Baxter's murder. As the investigation into Johnny Ray Baxter's murder progressed, detectives Sarah Mitchell-Kinsey and James Carter delved deeper into the lives of those closest to him, uncovering a web of personal conflicts and hidden secrets that might have led to the crime. With Johnny's death marking a tragic turning point, the focus of the investigation turned to the primary suspects, Darlene Baxter, Johnny's wife, Lily Adams, his stepdaughter, and Diddy Baxter, Johnny's ex-wife. Each of these individuals had potential motives and was scrutinized thoroughly by the detectives. Darlene Baxter's life was upended by the murder of her husband. She had been visiting her sister in Little Rock on the night of Johnny's death, which she claimed was her alibi. However, as the detectives reviewed her statements and gathered evidence, inconsistencies began to emerge. Detectives found entries in Darlene's diary that revealed her growing suspicions about Johnny. She had been increasingly frustrated with his frequent late-night work meetings, which she perceived as a sign of infidelity. Her entries detailed her emotional turmoil and anxiety about their relationship. Friends and acquaintances confirmed that Darlene had been visibly stressed and distraught, but they also testified that she had maintained a facade of normalcy. The forensic evidence against Darlene was particularly concerning. The blood-stained shirt and gloves found near Beaver Lake contained Johnny Ray's DNA and Darlene's hair fibers. Surveillance footage showed her vehicle near the lake around the time of the murder, contradicting her claims of being in Little Rock. Despite these indicators, Darlene steadfastly maintained her innocence, attributing the evidence to coincidences or potential tampering. The second major suspect was Lily Adams, Johnny's 18-year-old stepdaughter. Lily's relationship with Johnny had been a source of tension within the family. It was revealed that Lily and Johnny had been involved in an affair, a secret that had been hidden from Darlene. This revelation added a layer of complexity to Lily's situation, casting a shadow of suspicion over her. Lily's emotional state was a focal point for detectives. She exhibited signs of guilt and distress, which were compounded by her involvement in the affair. On the night of the murder, Lily had claimed she was studying with a friend, but her alibi was considered shaky. Surveillance footage from a nearby park showed a figure matching Lily's description near Beaver Lake around the time of the crime. This footage raised additional concerns about her potential involvement in Johnny's murder. The third suspect was Diddy Baxter, Johnny's 46-year-old ex-wife. Diddy and Johnny had a contentious history, marked by frequent arguments and personal disputes. Diddy's disapproval of Johnny's marriage to Darlene was well known, and she had been vocal about her resentment. On the night of Johnny's murder, Diddy had no solid alibi, and neighbors reported hearing loud arguments coming from her home in the days leading up to the crime. Despite these factors, there was no direct evidence linking Diddy to the crime scene. She remained a person of interest, but without concrete proof, she could not be definitively tied to the murder. As detectives continued their investigation, they faced the challenge of piecing together a clear timeline of events and establishing a motive for each suspect. The personal and emotional complexities of the case made it difficult to pinpoint the exact circumstances leading to Johnny Ray's murder. Each suspect had a potential motive and was carefully examined to determine their involvement. The discovery of the blood-stained clothing near Beaver Lake on April 17, 2015, provided a critical breakthrough. Forensic analysis confirmed that the blood on the shirt matched Johnny Ray's DNA, and the gloves contained hair fibers identified as Darlene's. This evidence, combined with the surveillance footage showing Darlene's vehicle in the vicinity of the lake, provided a crucial link between her and the crime. Despite the mounting evidence, the detectives continued to investigate all angles, seeking to ensure that justice was served and that the true perpetrator was identified. The personal conflicts and emotional turmoil of those involved were examined in detail, but the investigation was focused on uncovering the facts behind Johnny Ray Baxter's tragic death. With the investigation narrowing in on Darlene Baxter, the stage was set for the final phase of the case. The detectives' work laid the groundwork for the legal proceedings that would follow, aiming to bring resolution to a case marked by personal betrayal and emotional complexity. As the investigation reached its critical juncture, the focus turned to preparing for the trial and uncovering the full truth behind the murder of Johnny Ray Baxter. As the investigation into Johnny Ray Baxter's murder advanced, Detectives Sarah Mitchell Kinsey and James Carter were faced with a complex and emotionally charged case. With the initial evidence pointing towards Darlene Baxter, the detectives sought to build a robust case while keeping all potential leads open. The murder of Johnny Ray, a well-liked real estate agent, had rattled the Fayetteville community, and it was crucial to ensure that justice was served. Darlene Baxter's alibi was the first major point of contention. She had claimed that she was in Little Rock with her sister during the time of Johnny's murder. However, the detectives uncovered evidence that contradicted this claim. Surveillance footage showed Darlene's vehicle near Beaver Lake, which was in proximity to the crime scene. This evidence placed her in the area around the time of the murder, raising significant doubts about her alibi. The blood-stained shirt and gloves discovered near Beaver Lake were crucial to the investigation. Forensic analysis confirmed that the blood on the shirt matched Johnny Ray's DNA, while the gloves contained hair fibers identified as belonging to Darlene. This evidence created a direct link between Darlene and the crime scene, further complicating her defense. Despite this, Darlene maintained her innocence, suggesting that the evidence might have been planted or misinterpreted. Detectives thoroughly investigated Darlene's background and personal life. Her diary entries, which had been previously uncovered, revealed deep frustrations and suspicions about Johnny. Darlene had documented her growing concerns about Johnny's frequent late-night work meetings and her dissatisfaction with their marriage. Her emotional state and the apparent strain in her relationship with Johnny were examined to understand any potential motive for the crime. Lily Adams, Johnny's 18-year-old stepdaughter, also came under intense scrutiny. The detectives delved into her relationship with Johnny, uncovering that they had been involved in an affair. This revelation introduced a complex emotional dynamic into the case. Lily's feelings of guilt and the secrecy of the affair were critical factors that needed to be considered. On the night of the murder, Lily had claimed to be studying with a friend. However, her alibi was not airtight. Surveillance footage from a nearby park captured a figure resembling Lily near Beaver Lake during the time of the crime. This footage raised suspicions about her whereabouts and possible involvement in Johnny's death. Detectives interviewed Lily's friend to verify her alibi but found inconsistencies that left room for doubt. Lily's emotional state and her strained relationships were key aspects of the investigation. The detectives sought to understand her feelings of guilt and the potential impact of the affair on her behavior. Despite her emotional turmoil, there was no direct evidence linking her to the murder, making her involvement a complex and challenging aspect of the case. The third suspect, Diddy Baxter, Johnny's ex-wife, had a contentious history with Johnny. Their past relationship, marked by frequent arguments and personal conflicts, made Diddy a person of interest in the case. Diddy's resentment towards Johnny's marriage to Darlene and her lack of a solid alibi for the night of the murder added to the suspicions. Neighbors reported hearing loud arguments from Diddy's home in the days leading up to Johnny's death. While these reports contributed to the suspicion surrounding Diddy, there was no concrete evidence linking her directly to the crime scene. The detectives investigated her whereabouts and personal connections but found no definitive proof that she was involved in Johnny's murder. As the investigation continued, detectives worked to piece together a comprehensive timeline of events. They interviewed friends, family, and acquaintances to uncover any additional information that could shed light on the motive and circumstances of Johnny's murder. The emotional and personal dynamics within the Baxter family were scrutinized to understand the underlying tensions that may have contributed to the crime. The discovery of the blood-stained clothing near Beaver Lake on April 17, 2015, was a significant breakthrough. Forensic analysis confirmed that the blood matched Johnny Ray's DNA, and the gloves contained hair fibers identified as Darlene's. This evidence, combined with the surveillance footage showing Darlene's vehicle in the vicinity of the lake, provided a crucial link between her and the crime. Despite the mounting evidence against Darlene, the detectives remained committed to a thorough and fair investigation. They continued to explore all possible angles and gather information to ensure that the true perpetrator was identified. The complexity of the case, with its intertwining personal relationships and emotional conflicts, made it essential to carefully examine every detail. As the investigation approached its final stages, the focus shifted to preparing for the legal proceedings. The detectives compiled their findings, built their case, and worked to ensure that all aspects of the investigation were addressed. The resolution of Johnny Ray Baxter's murder would ultimately depend on the ability of the legal system to navigate the intricate and emotionally charged nature of the case, bringing justice for Johnny and closure for the affected community. As the investigation into Johnny Ray Baxter's murder reached its conclusion, the focus shifted from uncovering the truth to navigating the judicial process. With substantial evidence pointing towards Darlene Baxter, the case moved towards trial, where the ultimate question of justice for Johnny Ray would be decided. The prosecution's case was built on a foundation of compelling evidence. The blood-stained shirt and gloves found near Beaver Lake, along with the surveillance footage showing Darlene Baxter's vehicle in the area, were pivotal in establishing her connection to the crime. Forensic analysis confirmed that the blood on the shirt matched Johnny Ray's DNA, and the gloves contained hair fibers identified as Darlene's. This strong evidence was instrumental in presenting a cohesive argument against her. The prosecution argued that Darlene, driven by jealousy and frustration over Johnny's affair with her daughter Lily, had confronted Johnny on the night of the murder. They portrayed the crime as a result of escalating tensions within the family, with Darlene's emotional state and her documented suspicions about Johnny's infidelity providing a motive for the violent act. The prosecution aimed to demonstrate that Darlene's actions were not only premeditated but also a direct result of her personal grievances. Witness testimonies played a crucial role in the prosecution's case. Friends and family members described Darlene's increasing stress and her documented frustrations with Johnny. These testimonies helped to paint a picture of a woman who was deeply affected by her husband's actions, contributing to the narrative of motive and opportunity. Darlene's defense team worked tirelessly to challenge the prosecution's claims. They argued that the evidence against Darlene was circumstantial and that the forensic findings could have alternative explanations. The defense questioned the integrity of the evidence, suggesting that the blood-stained clothing and gloves might have been planted or that their presence near Beaver Lake could be coincidental. The defense also sought to discredit the surveillance footage that placed Darlene's vehicle near the crime scene. They argued that the footage was not conclusive and that there could be other explanations for her presence in the area. Additionally, they highlighted Darlene's emotional state, suggesting that her behavior and diary entries were not indicative of guilt but rather a reflection of the personal turmoil she was experiencing. As the trial progressed, several key developments emerged. The defense's attempts to undermine the prosecution's case were met with counterarguments and evidence from the prosecution. Witnesses provided testimony that reinforced the link between Darlene and the crime scene, while the forensic evidence remained a central focus. One significant development was the continued scrutiny of Lily Adams and Diddy Baxter. Although they were no longer primary suspects, their relationships with Johnny and the tensions within the family were discussed in court. Lily's affair with Johnny and Diddy's contentious history with him were presented as background context, helping to frame the emotional and personal dynamics of the case. The turning point in the case came when Darlene Baxter decided to change her plea. Facing overwhelming evidence and mounting pressure, she ultimately confessed to the murder of Johnny Ray Baxter. Her confession was a crucial moment in the trial, as it provided a clear acknowledgement of guilt and brought the legal process closer to resolution. Darlene's confession detailed her actions on the night of the murder. She admitted to confronting Johnny about the affair with Lily, and the argument that ensued escalated into violence. According to her statement, the confrontation became uncontrollable, leading her to attack Johnny with a hammer in a fit of rage. Her admission of guilt confirmed the prosecution's theory and provided a final piece of the puzzle. Following her confession, Darlene was convicted of first-degree murder. The jury's verdict was based on the substantial evidence presented throughout the trial, including the forensic findings, witness testimonies, and Darlene's own admission of guilt. The conviction brought a measure of justice for Johnny Ray Baxter and closure for the affected community. On May 15, 2015, Darlene Baxter was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentence reflected the gravity of the crime and the impact on Johnny Ray's family and community. The judge's decision underscored the seriousness of the offense and the need for accountability. The sentencing marked the end of a tragic and complex case that had exposed deep personal conflicts and hidden tensions within the Baxter family. Johnny Ray's murder left a lasting impact on those who knew him, and the resolution of the case brought a sense of closure to a painful chapter in their lives. The aftermath of the case saw the Fayetteville community grappling with the emotional fallout from Johnny Ray's murder. Friends, family, and neighbors mourned the loss of a respected and well-liked individual while coming to terms with the personal betrayals and hidden secrets revealed during the investigation. For Lily Adams and Diddy Baxter, The case served as a painful reminder of the complexities and tragedies that can arise within families. Lily struggled with her own feelings of guilt and the public exposure of her affair with Johnny. Diddy, while not directly implicated in the crime, faced the repercussions of her tumultuous history with Johnny. As the community moved forward, the case of Johnny Ray Baxter's murder remained a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of personal conflicts and emotional turmoil. The resolution of the case, with Darlene's conviction and sentencing, provided a sense of justice but also left a profound impact on all those affected.